Okay. Mhm. It's like we're moving 24 feet back from the high water mark. 28 to the front, 52 to the back.
A minor variance may be granted provided it meets the four tests, namely that the variance meets the general intent of the official plan, the zoning bylaw, that is minor in nature, and that is desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land, building, or structure. The Planning Act requires that a public hearing be held before the Committee of Adjustment decides whether or not to approve a minor variance. The public hearing serves two purposes. First, to present to the Committee of Adjustment and the public the details and background to the application, and second, to receive comments from the public and agencies before a decision is made. As part of a transparent public process, all submissions form part of the public record. Both the Secretary Treasurer and myself, as the chair of the committee for today, will be responsible to ensure that all parties and the committee members can hear one another during the hearing. For those attending by teleconference, if at any time you are having difficulties hearing what is being said, please do so. Please say so or click the raise hand button or dial *9. We kindly ask that everyone speak slowly and clearly when addressing the committee. If you are of the opinion that holding the hearing as an electronic hearing is likely to cause significant prejudice, we ask that you advise the committee at its earliest opportunity and the matter can be addressed accordingly. Please be advised that any applicant or agent that is in attendance at today's meeting for a specific application may leave the meeting once their application has been considered by the committee. Any applicant, agent, or member of the public wishing to address the committee for a specific application is reminded that presentations may be limited to 10 minutes per person. If you are using a computer or electronic device, please ensure that your microphone is turned on and your audio settings are not muted. All parties will be verbally acknowledged before asked to proceed. At this time, I would ask anyone who objects to an electronic hearing of a matter on today's agenda or is having difficulty hearing what is being said, please click the raise button or dial *9 on your keypad. All right. The committee will first adopt the agenda. Would the Secretary Treasurer please read the resolution?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I can get a mover and a seconder for the resolution to adopt. Okay.
All those in favor?
Oh, sorry, I'll read it first. You're getting ahead of me. Moved by Paul Radal, seconded by G. Neville. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves the agenda of the June 24th, 2024 meeting as circulated.
All those in favor? That is carried. Do any committee members have a pecuniary interest in the application being heard today? No one, thank you. All right, we're going to go through some adoption of minutes. There are minutes from two previous meetings before the committee today for adoption. I'll ask that our Secretary Treasurer please confirm that the meeting minutes represent an accurate record of the August 28th and September 25th of 2023 hearings.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So I can confirm that I did prepare the meeting minutes and transcribed from the discussions at the time of the meetings and further reviewing all information available to me on both hearings and consider these to represent an accurate record of both meetings.
Does any committee member have any questions or suggestions to the minutes? Okay. Would the Secretary Treasurer please read the resolution?
Absolutely. I'll just first need a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes. Do I have a seconder? Moved by David Ray, seconded by Honoré Tall. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves the meeting minutes of the August 28th, 2023 and September 25th, 2023 meetings as circulated.
All those in favor?
So that is a tie, so it's defeated.
Moving on, I now declare this to be a public hearing for the application PLMV 2024026 located on part of lot 25, concession 8 in the geographic township of Letterworth on Manhattan Drive. Would the Secretary Treasurer please summarize the proposed variance and any correspondence received to date regarding this application?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So the township has received this application, as you mentioned, PLMV 2024-026. This was submitted by Tom Taylor on behalf of the property owner, Alan Dunford, for 1385 Manhattan Drive, being on Black Lake. The applicant proposes to demolish the existing 504 square foot dwelling, as well as an adjacent shed that's just to the rear of the dwelling, to construct a 1,300 square foot, 1-story dwelling with a walkout basement, which would also have a covered porch, a waterfront attached open deck, and a screen porch. As submitted, the application requires relief from sections 4.8.4.3 and 4 to permit an increased average height of 2.1 meters or 7 feet, as well as an increased footprint of 158%, as the bylaw only allows for increased height of 1.2 meters or 4 feet in height, and then also a 25% increase in size. They also require relief from sections 4.8.4.2 and 5 to permit an increased lateral extent of the dwelling and attachments thereto, being the deck and the sunroom, the screened porch rather. The development would have a width of 18.8 meters or 62 feet, whereas otherwise a maximum width of 15 meters or 50 feet is permitted. As well, relief from sections 3.134 and 5.2 to permit a setback to the attached deck and screened porch of 15 meters or 50 feet and 18 meters or 59 feet respectively, whereas otherwise the required setback is 23 meters or 75 feet. So in reviewing the 4 tests of a minor variance, the first being is the application minor in nature. When assessing whether an application is minor, consideration must relate to the potential impacts of the variance as being requested. This is a well-sized waterfront lot, so there's no concern with it being overdeveloped. The increase in size, although 158%, the existing dwelling is fairly small, and so even a modest increase in size is going to sound quite large, even though the actual footprint will be considered within certainly an average house size. The house deck and screen porch combined will exceed the maximum lateral width permitted overall, but it does not exceed 30%, which is the other side of that provision. And also the dwelling is going to be angled away from the shoreline, so the actual width along the shoreline is likely less, although it was not specifically calculated for the application. And the orientation of that angle will soften any impacts of the dwelling footprint. The existing dwelling has limited visibility from the water due to the vegetation as well as the topography. The shoreline is quite a lot lower elevation wise than the dwelling. And the new dwelling will also be further back, so no visual impacts are expected. For the second test, is the application desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land, building, or structure? For similar reasons, as I've just mentioned, or whether the application is considered minor, there's going to be increased setbacks to the water without impact to the land because it's mostly maintained as lawn. There will be limited visual impact from the lake, and it is going to meet all other setbacks. So the application is considered desirable for the appropriate development of the property. The third test is the application uphold the general intent and purpose of the official plan. The property is designated rural on Schedule A of the township's official plan. Permitted uses are a single detached dwelling, which certainly this development is proposing and therefore will conform with. No work within the vegetated shoreline area is proposed, and so the application is considered to uphold the general direction and purpose of the official plan. Does the application uphold the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaws? The fourth test for minor variance. As proposed, a single detached dwelling is permitted in the shoreline residential zone, which is the zone for this particular property. The only reduced setback is to the shoreline, which will be improved as a result of the application. The height as proposed would not exceed what is contemplated by the zoning bylaw. And total lot coverage would only be approximately 4.72% following construction of the dwelling. And so the general intent of the zoning provisions are considered to be upheld. The application is also required to be consistent with the provincial policy statement. Permitted uses on rural lands include residential development that maintains the rural character and can be sustained by rural service levels. Again, this will be for a single detached dwelling, and the property does already afford for a septic system. The application does not conflict with the policies of the PPS. As of the date of the writing of this, the report, or sorry, as of today, I should say, there were no comments on the application received from any members of the public or agencies. And so based on the assessment of the application is currently proposed, it is considered by staff to meet the four tests of a minor variance and is consistent with the policies of the PPS, and therefore is being recommended for approval subject to the conditions in the report.
Is the applicant or a property owner here today? Could you please approach the table and have a seat? Could you state your name for the record and provide any additional information you'd like to the committee?
Hi, I'm Tom Taylor. Any extra information, the people that I'm representing, the Dunfords here are great people. They want to do right by the land that they own. They want to build a nice home for themselves. So I think we've gone out of our way to try to adhere to what the expectations are. And if there's any other recommendations, we'd love to hear them.
Okay. Thank you for that. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak to this application? We will start with anyone attending electronically.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can confirm the only person attending electronically is the property owner, Mr. Dunford.
Okay. Is there anyone attending in person who would like to? Obviously not, since there's no one here. Is there any questions or comments from the committee to the applicant, the planners, or any persons who have made presentations? Yes, right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one question about positioning of the new build. Considering the filter bed, trying to stay about 10 feet away from it, and possibly moving it back farther to be within the 15 feet of the side lot. What were the discussions with the homeowners about positioning of the new build where it was?
So that filter bed actually appears a little bit closer than what it actually is. I don't know if you were one of the people that went out to the site, but that filter bed is quite a ways away from the and I noticed now, and Amanda mentioned it to me that I didn't put there's a lot of lines on this paper with a lot of feet, right? So we tried to do the best we could to get everything, and it was one that definitely we missed. So it's quite a ways back there, but it's further back than what you're worried about there. But we can definitely get you some feet on that, but it's got to be over 15 feet back from the new build. So
Yeah,
I
can.
The question was, if we took the building and moved it back,
yeah,
and keeping the 10 or 15 feet away, we would gain distance from the lake and not encroach on the setback rules for the side lot. And I was just curious why the building was decided to be there.
well, I think if you've been to the lot, it's a wonderful spot for the build, right? So we'd like to keep it as close to the high water, like to the lake as possible, but obviously, we're kind of bumping it back to the 50+ foot mark. The existing building that we're going to take down is 28 feet, right? So, we're we're trying to do the best we can to fit where we're supposed to fit, and that's why we were kind of hoping to put it right where we're doing it there. So
I'm fine. Sure.
I'm sorry, thank you. In the application, it's listed that there's a double garage, separate garage. It also appears that there's some kind of apartment or unit above the garage. May I ask what the use of that is?
So there's a storage, there's a storage facility, like area over top of the garage there.
That's right.
Yeah, it's for storage.
Storage.
Yeah,
only.
yeah.
All right.
And there is a building actually right where we're putting the new build, where that's going to be removed. So you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, no, understood. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I don't have anything. If there's no further comments, would the Secretary Treasurer please read the proposed conditions for the minor variance?
Through Mr. Chair, so I won't read them in full. They are generally the standard conditions. I do want to just point out a couple of variations to these ones. In condition number 2, it has been slightly reworded. Although staff did accept the site plan drawing for the minor variance, it doesn't, for the building permit process, it will need to have some, so we've discussed additional setbacks and some additional information. So although we are accepting it in terms of the variances for the purposes of the building permit, it will need to go through some revision. So I've worked that into condition number 2. As well, in order to ensure that the setbacks are going to be met, as the site plan did not have complete accuracy in terms of scale. An Ontario land surveyor will need to pin the setback for the deck and the screen porch, which are the closest setbacks to the high water mark, but otherwise the conditions are the standard ones.
Yes, for clarification, what you just said.
Through you, Mr. Chair, clarification on.
Well, just so that I perfectly understand, we'll call it. Based upon the approvals we provide today and the setbacks listed on the diagram, the surveyor will take those and pin where the front of it is.
Correct.
Okay. Are there any further questions from committee? All right. Having heard the evidence before, is the committee ready to make a decision? Starting your head, that's good. Would the Secretary Treasurer please read the resolution?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just need a mover and a seconder first. Moved by Paul Rodalles and seconded by Jean Neville, whereas the Committee of Adjustment considered the oral submissions relating to application PLMB 2024-026 Dunford made at the hearing. And whereas it is the opinion of the committee that the relief granted maintains the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, is appropriate and desirable for the area and is minor in nature, and more specifically for the following reasons: that no visual impact to the lake is expected. Now, therefore, it is the decision of the committee that application PLMB 2024-026 requesting relief from the requirements of bylaw 06-10 as amended to permit the following. Section 4.8.4, subsection 3 and 4 to permit an increased average height of 21 meters, 7 feet, an increased footprint of 158% for dwelling being set back approximately 18.8 meters or 62 feet from the high water mark of Black Lake, whereas maximum increases of 1.2 meters or 4 feet in height and 25% in size are otherwise permitted. From section 4.8.4, subsection 2 and 5 to permit an increased lateral extent of the dwelling and attachments thereto of 18.8 meters or 62 feet, whereas otherwise a maximum increase of 15 meters or 50 feet is permitted. And from sections 3.134 and 5.2 to permit a setback to the attached deck and screen porch of 15 meters or 50 feet and 18 meters or 59 feet respectively, whereas otherwise the required setback is 23 meters or 75 feet. Subject to the following conditions: That approval of the minor variance shall only relate to the proposed 1,300 square foot dwelling, attached open deck, covered porch, and screen porch, development of which shall comply with all other applicable law. The construction shall proceed substantially in accordance with the revised plan submitted to the township on June 13th, 2024, put before the committee on June 24th, 2024, and forming part of this decision, save and accept that revisions to the plan as required for site plan review prior to issuance of a building permit. That prior to applying for a building permit, the setback for the open deck and screen porch be staked by an Ontario land surveyor and a confirmation letter from the OLS be provided to the township. That the building permit be applied for within 24 months of the approval of this application following submission to the building department to the appropriate application fees, and any supporting information is deemed to be required by the chief building official. And finally, that failing any part of the foregoing conditions, this application shall be deemed to be refused.
Thank you. All those in favor? That is carried. Would the Secretary Treasurer please advise the applicant and the public of the steps?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So, having approved the application, notice of the decision will be sent out within 10 days. And then there will be a 20-day appeal period that will be identified on that notice of decision. And following that 20-day period, if there were no appeals, then you'll be able to apply for the building permit. For any individuals listening, in order to be kept advised of an Ontario Land Tribunal hearing in the event of an appeal, members of the public must request a copy of the committee's decision on the application. And if anyone from the public would like to receive a copy of the decision made on the application, you can either sign the attendance form, although there's no one else here. Raise your hand, dial *9. Again, nobody else here. Or certainly you can email the planning department as well if you're on the live stream.
Thank you. I now declare this matter to be concluded. Is there any other business to discuss today?
Through you, Mr. Chair, none that I have.
When is the next meeting?
So the next meeting will not be until August 26th. If we receive any applications, I believe we may have received one. So I anticipate there will be a meeting, but I will let the committee know for sure.
Okay, thank you. So we're ready for adjournment. Would the Secretary Treasurer please read the resolution?
I just need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Paul Riddell, seconded by Jean Neville. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment meeting be adjourned at 9:53 a.m. on June 24th, 2024. The committee will reconvene on August 26th, 2024, unless no applications are received, in which case the meeting will be canceled.
All those in favor? There we go. Happy building.